could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Do I tell it to the camera or to you?
You can talk to
Okay,
me, whichever.
hello. My name is Olivia, and I just graduated from Cornell as an English major. I'm from France and Dubai, and yeah, I'm about to go move to Zambia next year.
And did you know that NASA is planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
Only because you told me about it.
Ah. Well, what do you think NASA needs to do in order to make more people aware of it?
Well, it depends if they want people to be aware of it or if it's secretive. But if they want people to be aware of it, possibly get news channels to talk about it more often, bigger news channels. I don't know. I feel like I would see it on social media somewhere.
Their like social media accounts like completely blow up with it, but I mean that's also another problem for our age today is that your social media is completely tailored to what they think would keep you absorbed, whereas mine's completely tailored to what keeps me absorbed, which means we're essentially living in our own worlds. And, what do you think about that?
I hate that. I actually deleted my Instagram account. I've deleted it multiple times, but it's once again deleted because I'm not a fan of social media very much. But yeah, I completely agree. I watched a documentary called The Social Dilemma, if you've heard of that. It's all about how we all of our news feeds are completely tailored to what we think is true, and so we're fed all sorts of lies, and we're also fed just things that are interesting to us and not a more broad truth. So I agree.
Yeah. How do we overcome that?
I think social media needs to not be where we find all our news information, first of all. I think people are getting lazier and lazier and aren't willing to do their own research. So I think that would counteract it. I think more communication face-to-face. I think it's a lot easier to divide people and think that other people are stupid or hateful if you don't know them and haven't talked to them face-to-face and asked them good questions. So I think just generally avoiding social media is helpful and looking for more reliable news sources and talking to people face-to-face. Yeah.
So coming back to the moon topic, what do you think about us sending people back to the moon?
I think it's fascinating that it's taken so long. I'd be curious to know why, but I'm very excited. I think it's cool. And space exploration in general is very cool.
But some people say, you know, why are we spending billions of dollars to send a couple of astronauts to the moon when we have like global climate change, poverty, hunger, social justice issues, you name it. How do you sort of approach that perspective?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I would be interested to know how much money just belongs to NASA and how much they're being funded by the government. That would change my perspective on that a lot, like where the money's coming from. But yeah, I do think there are a lot of more serious issues than going to space, but I think that space exploration is much like science, and you know there are a lot of things you could say put money towards feeding the poor, but then we never would have had the science to figure out how to cure cancer. We're still figuring that out, and how to cure polio and other things like that. So advancement and discovery is very important, but most people prefer fixing issues instead of looking for new discoveries and new information. So I think space exploration is important. Figuring out how important and in what order we should be spending our money, I think is a complicated issue.
So Elon Musk wants to build a 1 million person city on Mars by 2050. Do you think possible, impossible? What's your thoughts?
I'm pretty skeptical. I think people have a very optimistic timeline in general about things, and we've been saying that the world's going to end 10 years from now, and then every 10 years we say 10 more years from now, and we say we're going to do these crazy things. There's going to be flying cars in 20 years, and they're still not flying cars. So I think our timelines tend to be more optimistic than they generally pan out to be. I also think we just don't know what's possible, so we might have said there will be flying cars in 20 years, but we never could have imagined the internet. So anyway, I'm skeptical about everyone moving to space. Feel free to move back, yeah. I'm generally skeptical that everyone's going to move to space because I think we're pretty content on Earth, and the concept of going to space and living there, I'm more skeptical about than going to space to do science and discovering things.
So what do you think about the long-range future of humanity? Do you think we'll forever be like Earth-centered, stuck on Earth, making these little trips to places? Or do you think at some point, be it 1,000 years, 10,000 years from now, that humanity actually starts branching out to
Spreading.
the rest of the solar system, rest of the galaxy.
So far we haven't found, correct me if I'm wrong, but so far we haven't found any planets that are nearly as perfect for humanity as Earth. So there are planets where we could survive, but that's different than thriving, right? The amount of water on Earth, the natural climate on Earth, species on Earth, just everything is very, very unique to Earth. And so I think that Earth is better than any place in space that we have found so far. So why would we want to leave someplace better unless the place that was better was falling apart? So I think if Earth started to completely deteriorate and we needed someplace else, I could see us branching out into space. But I think if Earth wasn't deteriorating, I would imagine a few brave souls that are just curious might go out and live in space, but I don't imagine that a large population of human species would go out.
But there's several different layers of falling apart. The biggest challenge you have here on Earth is fellow humans, global war, disease, that type of thing. And there's really no way, any place on Earth, since we're all so connected, to kind of isolate yourself from those types of things. It's really impossible to come up with any other system than like the mainstream system. I mean, we see little intentional communities and things like this, but I kind of see like a group of people wanting to kind of isolate and separate themselves. I was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, I could imagine a small group of people, like I said, those who are brave and curious enough, but I don't think a large group of people would. And I also think, moving away from a physical location won't change wars. If thousands of people move to the moon, jokingly, like wars could continue on the moon, because humanity continues and all of our brokenness continues wherever we go. But I could imagine a small population wanting to branch out.
If it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
I would love to visit. I would not want to live. I'm way too much of a people person, and any isolation would not be my favorite thing. But I think it'd be super cool to visit space. I would love to go see what space is like.
What orbital trip, like a couple of days on the International Space Station, or a week or two to the moon and back, or
Sure.
2-year trip to Mars?
2-year trip to Mars, that's where you probably got me, but several week trip, that sounds super cool.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.